Hello and welcome back to HRA8140 Climate Control, week number 4. You might be asking yourself, why are you here? Besides learning about climate change and climate control technology, I hope this course gives you insight. There's one thing in your life that stays constant, and that's change. Climate control systems you're working on now will change in the future. These changes might be small changes, they might be large changes. Maybe climate control systems will become more micro. This may mean solar panels, a wind turbine attached to a residence. Systems that will decrease our use of the electrical grid and decrease the emission of greenhouse gases associated with burning fossil fuels. This is already happening in other parts of the world. Maybe climate control systems will be tweaked or slightly modified to reduce the impact on the environment. For instance, why is my water heater not on a timer system? It does not need to run through the night. We should have small computer systems attached to the unit that could do this. Why is my thermostat not hooked up to sensors that can identify when someone walks in the front door and moves around the house? In the winter, this could automatically raise the temperature of the home, turn down the heat when everyone has left the home. This would also reduce the use of fossil fuels and limit greenhouse gases. As we move forward in this course, I hope you will see how important it will be for you to look into the future, to see how your industry may change and how it may impact your livelihood. Week number 4. In this week, we'll analyze environmental and resource management issues and explain their global implications. We'll explain how population growth affects the sustainability of global ecosystems. We'll explain how human activity in one place may cause changes to the environment in another place. Will we have enough energy? World's population is increasing. As we can see from this graph here, almost every location on the globe, the population is increasing exponentially from the time of 1900 on. Other countries are needing more and more resources. Countries like India, countries like China are needing more and more fossil fuels to supply their energy needs. This graph shows us the United States energy consumption by energy resource. And if we take a look at petroleum, we can see that starting at around 1900, the use of petroleum begins to grow almost exponentially. This graph shows us the growth in the United States energy consumption is outpacing production. Our needs for energy are getting larger, and we're not keeping up with the output of energy required. It's important to understand the difference between the terms finite and infinite. Finite is described as limited or a fixed number. For example, the number of planets around the sun is finite. It's a fixed number. Infinite is defined as limitless. The amount of fossil fuels on Earth is a finite amount. We only have a limited amount of fossil fuels to use before we will run out. This leads us into the terms renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources are those sources of energy that are limitless. This includes solar and wind power. Non-renewable resources are those that are limited or those that will eventually run out one day. These include coal, gas, and oil. The theory of peak oil in the United States was initially proposed by M. King Huber in 1956. Basically, his theory, his statistics show us that at some point we'll reach peak oil, and after that the amount of oil produced and supplied by the United States will slowly decrease to zero. Wikipedia defines sustainability as follows. Sustainability is the capacity to endure. For humans, sustainability is the long-term maintenance of responsibility, which has environmental, economic, and social dimensions, and encompasses the concept of stewardship, the responsible management of resource use. For sustainable energy sources, we must be looking at renewable energy sources. This week's assignment. This week's assignment deals with global connections. You will look at what we are doing around the globe to support our energy needs. We will look at a number of locations that include nuclear power plants, coal mines, wind and solar farms. You will look at what we have done as humans to the earth from a positive point of view and a negative point of view. Good luck on the assignment. With the growing populations around the world, especially in countries like China and India, how soon will we run out of fossil fuels? If we are to meet the energy demands of the future, we will need to incorporate more and more renewable energy sources. Doing this sooner than later will help to slow down and hopefully reduce the amount of greenhouse gases we are putting into the atmosphere and creating climate change. By the end of this week, you should be able to sketch a graph of the world population growth and oil consumption beginning in 1900. Should be able to sketch and label a graph of peak oil theory put forth by M. King Hubert. Should be able to list the 2 developing countries who are now demanding more of the world's resources. And you should be able to define sustainability and list those energy resources that are sustainable. That ends week number 4. Take care, have a good week, and we'll talk with you next week.